So in every major sport, there's disappointing and surprising players. In today's video, we're going to look at 10 disappointing players so far this NBA season. And we're going to talk about why they have been disappointing and why they need to step their games up and why they make this list, unfortunately, for them. So yeah, that's what we're going to do in today's video. Leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's go ahead and get into this video with the 10 players that need to step up their game. Drew Holiday of the Milwaukee Bucks comes in at number 1 on this list. Drew Holiday was the big move of the offseason for the Bucks. The one that got Giannis to stay, really, because honestly, they didn't make it any other great moves this offseason to give Giannis a reason to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. Drew Holiday has not lived up to the expectations, in my opinion, and the Bucks, as a team, have been disappointed. A 4-4 record is a very disappointing season for the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that is dominated through the regular season, and 5-4 is just not it. 2 games back, and that's pretty good for them. But as good as these other teams are playing, you've got to play better. You can't be the 6th seed, and you would be facing up against the Celtics. This team has been disappointing. It's not like Giannis has been disappointing at all. Drew Holiday, I think, is the main part of what has been disappointing. Not to mention the fact that the Bucks, their bench has really just been I thought Bryn Forbes would be a good 6-man option for this team. Not really. He's not been very good. Next is Ben Simmons of the Philadelphia 76ers, averaging 13 points per game, 7 assists, and 8 rebounds per game. The 76ers are still the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, but what is scary is the fact that Ben Simmons is not even playing that well, and they are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. If you look at when Ben Simmons starts playing well, then they could be a totally different team. And I think the way Ben Simmons is playing right now, he is contributing a lot to the team with the 7 assists and 8 rebounds. But I would consider that James Harden trade if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers right now for Ben Simmons, because he's not playing very well this season. Now, John Wall and Ben Simmons, you could say, is a pretty terrible fit. But the way John Wall's played, John Wall has to – he's not one of the worst contracts in the league, it doesn't look like, the way he's playing. So for the 76ers – the more and more days that go by without Ben Simmons averaging more points, then I have to be like, should I consider this James Harden trade even more and more? Next is Pascal Siakam of the Toronto Raptors, averaging 19 points per game, 4 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. And those assists don't look very bad at all. I mean, they don't. But what is wrong with the Raptors is they're not playing well at all. Fred VanVleet has been great and it's looking like he's worth every penny of that contract right now. But Pascal Siakam has not been very good at all. And I think Pascal Siakam definitely needs to step his game up for the Raptors to be as good as it possibly could be. And if he doesn't step his game up, then the Raptors are in trouble, and I think they're in trouble anyways. And I think you could see a Pascal Siakam trade coming soon because he is not playing well, and it might be time to move on and let Fred VanVleet be the star of that team, or if you can get a star back for Pascal Siakam, a team that I would look out for trading for Pascal Siakam would be the Atlanta Hawks. I think they could trade John Collins, and obviously Pascal Siakam has had his max extension, which is very good for a team. Next is Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat, 13 points per game, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds per game, which is just, it's just not the way Jimmy Butler was playing last year or what we expected this season. He has got to do better. And if he doesn't do better, then the Heat are going to be in trouble. And the Heat have another player on this list. The Heat have been disappointing as a team so far this season. The Heat have to do better as a team. And Jimmy Butler is he's the leader of this team. And the leader of this team has to do better. That's just facts. Next is Tyler Hero of the Miami Heat. Tyler Hero, 13 points per game, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. Now, what we were expecting out of Tyler Hero was a great season. Heat fans tend to hype him up as a player that is always going to be so good, and they weren't even willing to trade him for James Harden, which is absolutely ridiculous. I would have traded him for James Harden. You look at this Miami Heat team. It's constructed to win now. But you still have young assets like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. You've got win-now players, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. They're ready to win now. Goran Dragic, they're ready to win now. All these players are ready to win now. James Harden is another player that's ready to win now. I know that the locker room and stuff tends to be quite just ridiculous when James Harden's there. But when James Harden is on the court, he's a very, very good player. Next is Rudy Gobert of the Jazz, 13 points per game, 13 rebounds, and 1 assist per game. You look at those stats and you're probably like, it's not that bad. Stop overreacting. Well, it kind of is for Rudy Gobert. The Jazz are still the number 1 seed in the Western Conference with an overall record of, or number 4 seed with a record of 5-4. That shows how the Western Conference is just not that great this season, if we're being honest. Rudy Gobert needs to play a little better. He's not played terrible, but he hasn't played to the expectations that we expect him to. We expect him to play better. We just do. Next is Robert Covington of the Portland Trailblazers, 6 points per game, 1 assist, and 5 rebounds per game. This is just not it. He was supposed to be one of the most underrated moves of all season, and he really just hasn't been. He's been terrible for this team. Like, this team overall has been quite the disappointment. Even though they are the 8th seed, they're just a 500 team from what it's looking like right now. And it's got to be better for the Portland Trailblazers. Like, Dame should be gone by now. As many years as he's had to stick with this team that is just not competing and is not really playing that well enough to where I would be satisfied if I'm Damian Lillard or CJ McCollum. They need to make a big move. I would consider a CJ McCollum for Victor Oladipo type of trade because this team needs some reconstruction, and this current team is just not it. Next is DeMarcus Cousins of the Houston Rockets, 6 points per game, 5 rebounds, and 1 assist per game. NBA fans tend to overreact to some preseason games. I mean, they do. They overreact, and it's ridiculous. 12th seed is just not it. Simple enough. Next is the Denver Nuggets defense. This is not a player at all. It is a total team because their defense has been terrible. The 13th seed is absolutely ridiculous. I did expect them to fall a little bit in the standings this year. A tougher Western Conference. That was expected, in my opinion, for them to fall a little bit, but not this much. They are not this bad of a team. They did lose Jeremy Grant and other players. But you look at Jeremy Grant, and he has a ton more value now that you see how good he was at defense for this team, for this Denver Nuggets team, because this team is not playing very well at all. And if you want to see 10 surprising players so far this NBA season, then leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. But the Denver Nuggets defense has got to do better. You've got to play defense, or you're not going to win basketball games. Just like the Timberwolves, you look at them; they're 2-6. 15th in the Eastern Conference. Wizards, same thing, 2-7. So, yeah, that if you want to see surprising players, then we'll do that. And you want to see surprising teams, then yeah, and disappointing teams, then yeah, leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Thank you for watching, and peace.